Blessings, Divine Reflection. Welcome back to my channel. As always, it is such an honor for you to have tuned into today's video and to the goddess frequency. If you want to continue to tune into the goddess frequency, the God frequency, then subscribe to my membership page where I offer you astrology readings, energy healings, and psychic readings. And that starts at just $5 a month. It would be amazing to have you there. Those who are just tuning in, my name is Idalis. I'm a spiritual wellness coach, and on this channel I love to give you tools to help you along your spiritual journey. I hope you stick around. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with anyone who you think might need it. Now let's get into the video all about how to ground your energy, create a strong inner foundation that cannot be rocked or shaken by outside influences, and how to build your sense of self. By the end of this video, you should have more self-confidence and more self-awareness to move about in your life, feeling secure in who you are. So I'm going to give you couple of tips to work with today. The first being to connect to the physical world around you. This may seem obvious to some, but those who feel ungrounded and may struggle with self-esteem often feel this sense of disconnection from the physical world. So connecting to your tangible reality is the perfect place to start if you are looking to find that sense of rootedness. Connecting to the energy of the earth and the root chakra will help you to find that sense of physical connection. Definitely check out my root chakra video or my earth star chakra video if you haven't already. You can also connect to the physical world around you by practicing becoming present in the moment. Along my early spiritual journey, I would practice becoming present, of course, with the typical practice of meditation, of sitting in lotus posture, closing the eyes, and focusing on a guided meditation or a crystal I was holding, or through the use of chanting. But I also was able to access a certain presence through the study of Taoism. Taoism allows one to sink into the present moment, releasing the mind of the past and the future. I would read a quote from the Tao of Now every single day. It's a book of daily quotes. This was a really powerful way for me to sink into the present moment. I learned that Taoism is closely linked to Chinese medicine, and being a healer, it made perfect sense why Taoism would resonate so deeply. I would also recommend for those looking to ground to also look into Zen Buddhism. There's a really prolific Zen Buddhist named Thich Nhat Hanh, and he popularized the movement of mindfulness in the West. Looking into his work and perhaps picking up one of his books or researching about Zen Buddhism in general could be a really beautiful way for you to access the present moment. If you aren't interested in Buddhism, I would also recommend reading poetry. I personally love poetry about nature. The era of romanticism in poetry I really resonate with. The stories of prophets like The Alchemist and The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, which I have here, were also really beautiful, powerful tools for me to connect to a sense of self that wasn't tied necessarily to my ego, but that touched a higher state of being. So I would highly recommend these books. I really love them. other literature that I connected to that taught me how to become present in the moment and to access spirituality more readily were actually ancient biblical texts, specifically, let's say, the Hebrew Bible, reaching into the first scriptures of this religious text before it was adapted into what it is today. When these scriptures, these texts, these books are removed from the doctrine of, the church, there are actually really beautiful poetic meanings that you can find through your own connection. What I've found is that a lot of these texts are incredibly poetic and are essentially little pieces of guidance that can help you. Speaking of prophets, the Book of Enoch is a book that is a telling of a prophet who met with holy angels and angelic beings, which I obviously really resonate with. Any prophet of any ancient time, I'm just like super connected to. So practicing becoming present for me is really connected to literature. And then of course I would 100% recommend getting into nature more any way that you can, because nature vibrates at a very peaceful and harmonious energy that can instantly stabilize and ground your energy. It specifically vibrates at the frequency of 7.83 hertz. Walking outside, getting some fresh air is a way for you to connect to natural world as well. You could put on guided walking meditation. My second tip for you would be to develop positive habits. Developing positive habits can alter your brain chemistry and ultimately can aid you in developing a more positive outlook on yourself. So doing things like practicing positive self-talk, giving yourself positive affirmation, patting yourself on the back when you do something that you're proud of, writing down a list of your accomplishments. Before you go to bed, you could reflect on all of the good things that happened that day, all of the things that went well, the experiences that you enjoyed. This invites in more things to enjoy. This invites even more of those experiences to come into your life. You could also set goals for the next day. This helps you to organize your mind. And then I would also recommend developing a sleep schedule. You can do this by syncing up with your natural rhythms and simply tuning into when your body is telling you that it is ready to go to sleep, and allowing your body to wake up naturally. So for me, I used to get naturally very tired around 10:30, and I know that I personally need a full 8 hours of sleep. So, you could also time the amount of hours you feel you need to optimize your sleep. There's also a sleep category in the health app on the iPhone where you can set a sleep goal. So how many hours you want to get, the time you go to bed, and the time you need to wake up. So I really love that feature. You could also practice what's called yogic sleep. This is called yoga nidra, and allows one to sink into a meditative state that hovers just above the sleep state. I would actually recommend you do this when you wake up rather than falling asleep, because it does activate the consciousness. It activates your level of awareness, but it still does have a very stabilizing energy and is good for anyone who is looking to ground themselves again into a state of presence. What I'm realizing now is that this video is more so about transcending our egoic attachments and accessing a spiritual state, even though it's about grounding the self. These are just some examples of ways that you can develop positive habits. Looking at the areas in your life that you feel need to be reworked and giving them the necessary attention that they need can also help you to, again, build that inner foundation, that feeling of accomplishment, that you are worthy of living a life that you love, of being being a person that you love, that is worthy of care and nurturance, creating the energy of self-love, creating the energy of self-care, creating the energy of self-awareness can really aid to empower your self-esteem. I've seen the effects of this in my own life and feel so strongly about it, and I want so badly for each and every one of you to feel as good as it feels to shower yourself with an intense level of focus and care. If you want to learn more about the best ways that you can care for your own body, definitely check out my CERES video about the dwarf planet in the asteroid belt that can tell you how best it is for you to invite in this sense of nurturance. And then my last tip would be to meet your basic needs. It's really that simple. Eating healthy is a form of self-care, and eating healthy actually looks different for every single person. There are different body types that need different things, and there are different experiences that people have and in their relationships to food that one person who has a different relationship to food might deem unhealthy that person would deem healthy. I would really encourage you to practice intuitive eating. So what your body wants naturally is what you allow your body to have. For those who perhaps are operating too much in their mind or too much in the spiritual realms, it is also really important for you to ground. And the best way to do that is by eating food that are denser in energy. If you do eat meat, then, meat is probably one of the densest vibrations of food that there is. If you are someone who is vegetarian, plant-based, vegan, I would recommend for you eating heavy starches, okay? So root vegetables, whole grains. I also have listed under Meet Your Basic Needs to tune into your breath, okay? When we are operating in a state of ungroundedness, we can lose sight of the power of our breath in those moments. Specifically, deep belly breaths are really powerful for those who want to feel empowered and confident. I also really like the technique of breathing up the front of the body to the crown or the top of the head, and then down the back of the body all the way into earth to release and transmute any negative energy that may have been cast upon you or any negative thought patterns that have revealed themselves, right? And then lastly, under Meet Your Basic Needs, I have to protect your safety. So a lot of times when we think about, our basic needs being met, we think about the physical things we need to survive, but it is also really important for us to protect our peace of mind. Once again, I invite you to listen to the intuition of the body, the second mind, and notice what spaces and environments make you feel ungrounded, unsafe, anxious, and then notice what environments, what practices in your life make you feel safe and grounded and at peace, and move in the direction of being able to access those states of being more. So whether that's setting boundaries with certain people by limiting contact with those individuals, setting boundaries for when you need to be in a private area in your home, right? Maybe allot some time or a section in your home that's just yours, just for you, that no one else is allowed to invade when you're in that space for however long you need to be in that space, right? Or whether that's physically moving spaces and environments. Protecting your peace is vital to feeling grounded. Can also, again, empower you to have agency in your life. Also, you know, physical touch and connection to other people is a basic need as well. So if no one else is around to hug you, make sure you do it to yourself once in a while and let yourself know that you're there for you, that you will always show up for you no matter what, that you will do your best to protect yourself always and show up for yourself whenever you need to. So those are my tips for you to ground your energy, to connect to your inner self and empower yourself. Connection to the higher self is the most empowering thing you can do. And can also be an incredibly grounding, humbling experience. Again, don't forget to like this video if you liked it. Let me know down below which tip is your favorite. Join my membership page for deeper ways to connect to your higher self. Check out my blog for even more ways that you can invite a meditative state into your life. And I will see you next week for a brand new video. Thank you so much for being here. Big hugs. One giant hug for all those watching. Sending you so much love. I love you so much.